this will be recorded and available if people do want to look back at it at another time. So don't stress. If you can't stay, don't stay. It's all good.
Just basic stuff.
Yep, it is quite basic. Yeah.
Okay.
So sharing the screen, this screen right here, I have the Zoom up there and it's directed at you so that people can see it. Okay, right now Stefan's on there. I think people are going to join in.
Cool. Excellent. See, oh, well, it shows up okay.
You should be able to like just scroll down.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
And do I need to do anything in 8 minutes to start anything?
Here we go. With the microphone.
All right. Cool. Enjoy.
Uh, I did it. Oh, I did receive something.
Yeah. So she'll get on it assume that, you know, we just want to make sure you receive it and that you're good. All of that. But we do understand that you're busy. That's why we're kind of bringing it to the top.
That's good. I'm just gonna give her a call and thank you very much. It was great thinking. Thank you.
Thank you. Me too.
Thank you.
I'm just seeing if I'm on the screen or not. I am, so it's all good. I'm actually shocked there's even anyone in person. Come on in, we're not started yet. Who's on after me? Hi.
I'm so excited.
How are you?
Oh my God. I'm amazing. I'm never able to come. You
Yes,
know,
glad you're here.
you know. Oh my God. You want to here. And I'll give you a hug too, just because.
She's a hugger.
What you need? No. No, I mean. Yeah. I got
And it's going to be a quick, I'm going to try and be quite,
I got it. Thank you. Finally. No, I was like, oh my God, something that I can. Sometimes I can see I can come because I'm right over at Newmarket, but this doesn't give me enough time to breathe and
yeah.
absorb. But you're retired, so you know what it feels like too. You were retired officially, probably. No, you weren't teaching. It was your daughter that was our student.
That's right. You got it. That's okay. It's all good. A lot of people confuse us. I like to think because we look the same age, but no.
Yeah, I know.
But you're not retired, are you?
No, 5 years. I can't wait. Oh my God. I've never wanted to retire as much as I do now, but my pension's too good to just wait.
Yeah, for sure. I don't blame you.
So the kids are strong.
I think COVID probably had something to do with that, eh?
Yeah, but I'm still under COVID. That's an excuse.
Yeah, yeah, you're not wrong.
Listen, during COVID, I learned all this online. I did my first deal watching Jen's lease video, and I said to my husband, I got the girls at the office to help me. It was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
COVID was the best thing for me, so I could learn a lot.
It is a very independent industry, though. Like if you're not self-driven to figure it out,
And you
right?
want to do it.
Yeah.
You need to.
How well can you read the blue and red writing? So you can. Okay, good. Okay, good. That's right. Got it. Maybe you should teach it. How do you connect? Try their Wi-Fi and the password.
Yeah, University is the
Yeah, let's see.
We're going to start right on time and we're going to roll through this, get everyone out. Steph, when this is over, do I have to stop recording? Over there?
I don't.
She's gone for lunch. Well, she may still be there for a minute. But I think,
So do I have to go anywhere or you're going to lead us?
you don't have to go anywhere. You can just follow it on here.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 2 minutes to go and then we'll. That's right.
I'm glad you're having this because I saw it during exam week and I'm like, I can't go. So this is good.
It is good because there's been so many little changes as well as all the big changes. So this kind of just ties it all together. Anyone have any exciting holidays coming up?
I'm leaving.
Where are you going?
To Cyprus.
Nice.
Sweet.
Nice.
But that's a problem. I have people contacting me now to like buy and sell my.
Of course, that always happens when you book a home. That's when it happens. It is.
So I am hopeful when we come back. Either fall or spring, things will start rolling. I took a little bit of a break. I needed like a break. I had a little too busy of a year a couple years ago. It's nuts. I saw Caesar went to follow to see Colombia play and they lost in a shootout. Poor guy. But I was like, it's okay. Vincent's will be happy because they won.
I sent you a text message.
Yeah, Sarah says that we just have to turn the meeting off.
And I can do that if you have to run out. All right, it's noon. Let's get started. I just wanted to get everyone available to have a quick overview of the basic way we fill out the forms for FinTracker or for FINTRAC. We are now using the Fintracker app through the office as a required means of collecting this data, and I will get to that later on as to why that's important and why it's helpful for you. But today we're just here to do an overview of the forms and some of the things that we see every day where people miss things or don't understand how to fill things out. So I'm literally going to go through the forms. It's going to be a bit dry, but I am going to be pretty quick. So stop me if you have any questions, and that goes for anyone online. I do see that there are some people online, so I will try and see if I notice anything, but hopefully it's fairly straightforward. I think it will be. So I'm just going to get to it. The forms, I think online you can see the forms. If you can't, I can forward you this document which has my changes or suggestions typed into it so you can get a copy if you need to. So we're going to start with the individual identification information record. So anyone who has a buyer or seller, we know FINTRAC requires that we collect this information. We've been dealing with this form for quite some time, and there's some changes over the years and some things quite recently that are still tripping people up, but it is important. So first and foremost, just gotta make sure I got the right cursor here. There we go. So for the transaction property address, it must be transaction specific. Sometimes we have a buyer and a seller who are transacting at the same time. You need to make sure you have a separate FINTRAC ID form completed for both that is transaction specific, one for the house they're purchasing and one for the one they're selling, okay? We recommend when you have For buyers, you still want to collect this information when you first meet them and you sit down and you do your buyer representation. However, store that information in your FinTracker app on your phone or your computer without submitting it, because we don't know until those buyers have actually purchased what transaction property address to use. We don't know what they're buying until they've bought it. The other important thing about that is for buyers, they may not end up transacting. And as soon as you submit this FINTRAC form into the FinTracker app, it enters our system and we have to reconcile it and we have to do the ongoing monitoring for 5 years. So as soon as it's been triggered into our system, it's now a live client in our system. If they don't buy, we do not need to collect all that data and keep it in our system. Okay? As well as our clients, we also must FINTRAC SRPs. Any unrepresented parties, we must now FINTRAC. That is new. So that must be done through the FINTRACKER app as well. For business occupation, most of you have gotten a lot better over the last couple of years because we've been really hammering this to you guys. Make sure we're quite clear on the job. A high school teacher is far more clear than sales. So you might want to put sales, the company name, and the industry, right? Be as descriptive as possible. This KYC stands for Know Your Client. This has been a big push from FINTRAC in the last 6 months. And this is one of the biggest things that they're really coming after realtors to really make sure we know who we're dealing with. So when we're filling out these forms, there's actually a lot of questions that we have to answer. It's not just a matter of us thinking we know what the answer is. We have to ask the questions. We have to know our clients, okay? So for the first part, when we're using ID, does the occupation make sense to the transaction? I just want to touch on that real quick. If you've got a housewife or someone who has a job that doesn't have a high income, but they're buying a property that's, $900,000, does that make sense? If the occupation doesn't match what they're buying, ask more questions. It doesn't mean it's not legit. It doesn't mean there's a problem. But we as realtors need to be able to explain that we know our client and we can explain why this housewife is buying a $900,000 property. There may be a third party. It could be a husband, a brother, an uncle who's helping, right? So down to the ID section, which is the most common means that we use for collecting this. The individual must be physically present unless using technology capable of assessing. And this would be where FinTracker comes in. It used to be we had to look at the ID face to face, take it on our phone, look at it. But now if you're using the remote FinTracker option, the FinTracker app takes care of validating and authenticating that for us. So we no longer have to have it in person if you're using the app because you can do it the remote version. ID must be valid. I don't think FinTracker will accept ID unless it is valid. So if it's expired, you've got to get current ID. It will be rejected. I do get a fair number of calls on what to do if you have someone who doesn't have a driver's license or a passport. Doesn't happen often, but that is a legitimate issue. So that's where this dual process comes in. You need to complete 2 of the 3 sections. So it's quite self-explanatory. They do not need to be physically present, so they can scan you the documents, share it with you. And here's some examples of the types of documents that we can use to complete this. So, and it's it tells you what you need to do. So name, account number, make sure the name and date of birth are on there. So in this case, it's a notice of assessment, CPP statement, record of employment, those types of things. Here, it's name and address. It's different. So that could be a birth certificate, marriage certificate, permanent residency card, those types of things. Or a financial account, bank statement, credit card statement. 2 of the 3. If you can fill out 2 of the 3, you've completed it and you don't need to get the ID.
Just a question, the top section, when you go right? So they can use other their where they can use, if they don't have a driver's license or passport, they use a, what's that ID?
There's a
card?
provincial ID card.
So that
That's
could go
fine,
in
yeah.
that section there.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So on the second page, verification of third parties. FINTRAC wants to know if there's a third party. Again, if you've got a housewife or sometimes a senior or a student buying a home, if there's someone clearly giving direction or instructions to that individual or financing it, they're a third party. Again, this does not mean there's anything wrong. FINTRAC just wants it all documented, okay? So it's a mandatory field, yes or no, okay? If someone else is giving direction or has authority for decisions for funding, know your client, okay? FINTRAC is coming after us. If we can't answer this or if we can't give information, we don't know our client, that's when they have a problem with it. Okay. And you would just have to complete the information on the third party. So this is the questionnaire that we all hate filling out. We have to ask our clients, but we don't know from dealing with them. We have to ask. Is a family member or a close associate of a domestic PEP? We won't necessarily know that unless we ask, right? It's not something we would just know by working with somebody. So they're family members. We have to question that. And the ministerial directives. So that is what countries have been identified as high-risk transaction concerns for FINTRAC. And that's currently, it does change. There was a recent change. It's Russia, North Korea, Iran, okay? Scroll down here. Has your brokerage previously filed a suspicious transaction or tariffs report on this client? You may not know that. You may have a buyer, but you don't know that they bought with someone else in the office a year ago. We don't cross-share that information between realtors. Who you're dealing with, who you're working with is your business. It's not your business what another realtor in our office is doing. So this is something that's sort of monitored on a brokerage level, but you still answer it as you know for the FINTRAC. Did the client provide some or all of the deposit in cash? Well, a lot of people answer this, but they haven't even supplied the deposit yet. So you've got to make sure you change it if they supply the deposit and that changed. Okay? Am I going too fast? It's riveting, isn't it? I know.
Amazing stuff.
So the Fintracker app will actually calculate the score based on the answers supplied. Okay? It used to be where
Yeah, you know.
and it's not like a straight line. It's like yes and no and figuring it all out. They give you a score. And to be clear, because Darren and I and Deal Admin, and we all look at these with different set of eyes. There's a lot of eyes that look at this stuff. Just because someone has a higher risk score does not mean there's a problem. It doesn't mean your deal is in jeopardy. It's just their monitoring procedure for FINTRAC. And we do a deeper level of research for any that are high risk or that are flagged. And you'll see them when you do it on the app. It does tell you if there's any flags. It might be an AML warning or a name match to something. We're doing a look at that. And we may at times ask for you guys to do some research on that too. So this is a mandatory field. Often people do forget to fill this out. Mostly for us, it's residential property or commercial. It can be the others, but. And then D2 is another one that people sometimes forget. It must be completed. It could be no changes. It could be I've asked the client and it's up to date. On the Fintracker app, it does give you sort of options to pick for what rhetoric would be filled in that field, or you could type something in yourself. Now for the politically exposed and the head of international organization, again, know your client. Are they or a family member a politically exposed person? Got some examples here of who these may be. It's all on the next page. It's right on the form for you to see. If you're not sure, it's all there, okay? I'm just going to scroll back to one thing though quickly. Keller Williams policy is that we don't accept cash deposits, and that's to minimize risk from a brokerage level. So that's really good for us. So that's why this is not ever really applicable for our brokerage, okay? Which is a good thing. And to be honest, I don't see a lot of local brokerages accepting cash at all, no. Exactly. And of course, if someone does walk in or tries to give you this money, document it. It's obviously, you know, flirting with disaster for FINTRAC, right? So now the same for the corporate ID. It's very much mimics the individual, but of course it's for a corporation. So I won't go through this in as much detail. There's just a couple of points. When it comes to the directors, this is where it's different for a corporation. You want to obtain their articles of incorporation or some sort of business document that tells you officially who the directors are in that corporation. It used to be we required all of the directors to be personally ID'd. Now it's just the director who's actually doing and signing the transaction. So if you're getting the articles of incorporation, you're going to attach it. We require that it be attached, okay? It could be attached to FINTRAC or attached as a separate attachment in command.
What's nice is that it's in Fintracker App. You can attach it there and then
You
you
can.
need to reuse it.
I actually didn't know that. So what Stephanie just said for anyone online was Fintracker allows you to attach it right in the app so you can reuse it down the road. And that's really helpful because we have some agents who deal with certain commercial or builders that are doing it repeatedly. It's nice if you can reuse it for sure. The only other thing for this one that I wanted to touch on is the beneficial ownership for corporations or trust companies, public entities. We have to name the directors in the corporate FINTRAC. But the beneficial ownership record is now something that we are, just in the last 6 months, it's been required that we add this as well. Because the directors are one piece of the puzzle, but the owners, who are the shareholders in this corporation? Who owns it? That's what the beneficial ownership record is for. So anyone owning 25% or more needs to be disclosed. But we're requesting this for all corporate transactions. That's the recommendation from FinTracker and the AML shop. Once in a while, a corporation will own a corporation. It can get quite convoluted to explain who the owners are, who the directors are, who the shareholders are. If you need to draw a little flow chart, an org chart to explain it all, they suggest that that is a good way to outline it all. So it's all very straightforward, really, once you get through these little, nuances of what some people miss. The beneficial ownership record currently does not need to be signed by our client, but it appears as though very soon it will be a requirement that this form must be signed. So we're looking into the logistics of that, whether it's just DocuSign to them or how it will be done. Maybe that will be achieved through FinTracker somehow, I don't know. But just be prepared at some point soon, it will be a requirement that this is signed.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Of course.
So every time there's a corporation on a deal, that beneficial ownership has to accompany the articles of incorporation and this corporate FinTrack and the signing individual FinTracker. And the beneficial ownership has to be there too.
Yes. And the beneficial ownership record is a new requirement for all corporate transactions. It used to be just if there was 4 or more owners, but now
It's for
It's
every
for all.
transaction.
It's because they're realizing that people are finding money through shell.
yes, thank you, Steph. That's correct. It has been discovered that it's pretty easy to hide money, like you said, through shell companies and these convoluted ownership structures. It's easy, and also if some of the owners are foreign, like, and it triggers the foreign buyer ban, like we have to know who's got ownership of these corporations. Okay. So I'll spend a little bit more time on the receipt of funds record. This is one we do for all of our purchases. Obviously, we don't generally use the receipt of funds when we are representing the listing side, and
Not leases.
not leases anymore. This is a new fun little piece of information for our brokerage in the last few weeks, is that it used to be we had to get the receipt of funds for all deposits, but now it's just if it's a purchase. That's a nice little reprieve. And I'm so used to doing all these transactions. A couple of weeks ago, I did a whole bunch, and I rejected a bunch for not having the receipt of funds for a lease. And then Cecilia reminded me the rule was changed. So good point. Yes. As soon as anything is flagged through one of these individual or corporate IDs or the receipt of funds, we have to reconcile it and do the research. So it's good. Don't use the receipt of funds if we don't need it. Don't think that you're going over and above by supplying the receipt of funds record for a lease. It just creates more expense ultimately for us as realtors, and it's just an unnecessary thing that just kind of clogs up the whole system if it's not required. Okay, so receipt of funds must also be done on the Fintracker app. Very straightforward. Transaction property address and the agent's name. So information on funds. If the deposit is $30,000 in the agreement, it needs to match that here. Now, it could be 15 and 15, but the amounts here must add up to what is in the agreement. So sometimes we see the extra $17 wire charge or some bank fees added in. So it'll be $30,017. We can't accept that. We have to reject it to you and have that 17 removed. This must match the agreement, okay? And it seems so obvious, but method of receipt, purpose of funds, FINTRAC wants an answer there, and people have been fined for it not being there. And as I said a minute ago, if there's more than one deposit, break it up. There's 3 on the form. If you need another form, add another form, okay? So for the account information, this part has confused a few people recently because it talks about the trust count that is affected. So we do not need to list the account number for the brokerage that's receiving the funds. You might mention it's being received by Royal LePage or Remax, or on which brokerage, but you don't need to obtain the actual account number that it's going into. What we do need, as you all know, is to get the account number for where the funds are coming from, the source of the funds. So know your client. Again, ask where the funds have come from. If you've got a student buying a place and they're putting down $30,000, where are they getting that money from? Just make note of all this stuff, because if you're ever questioned about it, we are expected to know our client, okay? So name of account holder, number of account, type of account. I reject a lot of these missing, and I hate rejecting them because I also know how annoying it is to get that back and just to put in a check mark. It's so frustrating, but we have to, okay?
So what are the rules now if your client doesn't want to provide the information?
So the question is, what do we do now if the client does not want to provide the information? So a client refusing to disclose account information can trigger an automatic STR, suspicious transaction report, to FINTRAC. It's not 100% that it will be reported, but it could be. So There is a spot to outline any, where is it? I think it's on the Fintracker app. It might not be attached to this, where you can explain additional measures. If something needs to be explained, there's a spot to put that. Client is uncomfortable sharing sensitive information. So if I'm the realtor and I'm putting that down, my client is just really nervous about it. I would put that in there, but then I'll go on to say, but I've known this client, I've had long conversations with them about where they're financing this from. I do not suspect any additional concerns or worries about money laundering. So put that in the little explanation. Then what happens is Cecilia or Darren and I get that and we look at that. And yes, we have to run that through a whole system of checks and balances, right? And assuming everything appears to be what it is, it goes no further. As soon as there's any red flag, that has to be reported. And an important thing for everyone to know as well, Darren is not allowed to tell us when he's reporting something. And we are not allowed to tell our client. We cannot tip off a client. If we have questions, or if Darren or I come to you and we're asking questions like, why is your seller, trying to move money and like whatever weird thing seems to be going on, we can't tip them off. We can't. We're not allowed to. Okay, so we've got to be careful how we handle this. And it's really challenging. And there's been a lot of meetings between Steph's team and Darren and I trying to figure out the best way for us to analyze and research these individuals who are flagged or just have a name match, and trying to identify if this is in fact the same person that's in the transaction or if it's really the person that's being flagged in the FINTRAC world. Regardless, we have to do our due diligence and research it. And it's quite a lot of steps and it gets quite convoluted, but sometimes we reach back to you as agents to clarify and get some information.
I think in one point to say in some of the things that we've been learning is what we're trying to look for is any kind of extortion type thing or like, when you look into the third parties, is this person influencing a senior? Are they influencing a student? So we're looking at those third parties a little bit deeper to make sure that somebody else isn't.
Yes, thank you, Steph. So what Steph just said was we're looking a little deeper. We're watching perhaps the vulnerable clients, seniors, students, maybe someone who's a little less savvy. And we are really paying attention to what's going on behind the scenes. And this is where that know your client, it's a big push through FinTrack. Darren and I can't say it enough. If there's an audit and they come and say to you, how well did you know Mr. Smith? And you don't really know much and you can't answer the questions, you didn't know your client, there could be issues for you. So we are expected to ask the questions and understand where the money's coming from. Okay?
I think that just the everyday person is just uncomfortable.
Yes.
So much stuff happening on your visa, on your line of credits, and you're dealing with it and you're like, okay, who are these people and why do they need my phone number?
It's a good point. So what Irene said was that a lot of the population is understandably uncomfortable with sharing this information. So another layer that FinTracker is trying to get implemented through their platform is a collaboration with, is it Interac? You do the banking at your point of sale where there's a way to verify with our client. And I don't know how it will be done, but they're trying to find a way to do it through the Interact system so that there's that extra layer of security rather than clients feeling like they have to share potentially vulnerable information. I mean, the more places you share your bank number, account numbers, the more, opportunity there is for something to go awry. So verification of individual, this is pretty straightforward. Usually it's one person supplying the funds. Sometimes it's a joint account. And we've had conflicting information from FinTrack and the anti-money laundering shop. FinTrack says they must both be captured, but there's not really a way to capture two people equally on here. So you can either try and fit the second person beside. So if there's Bob and Sue, put their information side by side. Or at the end of this form is section E. It doesn't require as much identification, but it's a spot where you can add the second person on the account. One thing to note for ID for here and also for the individual identification, FINTRAC doesn't like abbreviations. They don't like DL for driver's license. They don't like ON for Ontario. I don't make the rules, I'm just telling you. Again, ID must be valid. If you don't have valid ID, do the dual process method. It's the same as the individual ID. There's a spot where you can do it just to verify who they are,
And
okay?
I think the fines now are, even if like you're missing Ontario, it's a $40,000 fine.
Yeah, Stephanie just pointed out that the fines are now astronomical, and they are. And it's not necessarily big things that are attracting the fines. They are trying to make examples of our industry to make sure we are compliant. And it's not always something significant that's causing the fines to happen. So we've got to be very, very careful. They must spell it out. Yeah. So what Stephanie said was using the app, and thank you, because I actually wanted to circle back to the way the app actually protects us. The app, as you were saying, will spell out Ontario fully. The app really protects us. As a brokerage, we subscribe for all of our agents to be able to have access to this app. It ensures that all of the information is correctly captured, that the information gets sent through our entire system. All the terrorist lists are being checked. The sanctions lists are being checked. Any issues with any criminal background, it's all flagged if someone has any history. And this is all driven through the FinTracker app. So as you're filling it out, it won't really let you finish and submit it until it's accurate and complete. Okay?
Even the identification, it has so many AI checks that you could, if somebody had fake ID, you wouldn't be able to check for it. Right?
So what Steph just said was that ID, it has the checks on the right on the app that will capture if it's fake ID. It's got enough checks and balances to know exactly what it's looking for. It's a very. And the other thing is, we're under the impression that like 3/4 of Ontario brokerages are using the FinTracker app or one like it because of the power to make us compliant, but also to protect us from these fines. FinTrack tells us what they want us to capture, but they don't tell us how. And there's a lot of gray area. And this is what we found recently with one of our a respected local brokerage got a massive fine, which they are appealing, but this huge burden is put on us to collect and report all of this information. And sometimes there's gray area and we think we're capturing what needs to be done. But if we miss something, the fines are huge. So FinTracker and AML, the anti-money laundering shop, are working together, and our brokerage subscribes to those. So all of us as agents have access to this really powerful software that helps us be compliant and protect us from fines. We're nearly done. I know this is really exciting and you'd like me to talk a lot longer. I am done. So that was just an overview of the forms we use on a regular basis, how some of the changes have evolved to this point. Like it used to be, we didn't need to do the beneficial ownership, but now we do because they want to know who the shareholders are. And just a little bit of overview too. A lot of changes happened in the last couple of years as the politics have changed south of us, because Canada really had to up their game in showing that we're doing all we can to protect and strengthen our borders. So a lot of these sanctions lists and terrorist lists are heavily connected to that political relationship, where we are showing that we are putting, like our federal government is putting systems in place that are monitoring and being able to capture these types of criminal activity from crossing the border. Steph wanted to answer. Do you want to come up and speak?
No, just one thing, just want to use, that we've done.
On the FinTracker?
Yeah,
So Steph's reminding me that there are really great videos that we can all watch. Are they on our MyKWRC or are they right on the FinTrack? Okay. So there are little videos that are tidbits of different topics, really good videos. Reach out to the front desk if you want to have access to those. I think we all have access to them. It's just a matter of where they might be. Okay. Yeah.
As the next step.
So basically this was it, guys. I just wanted to give you an update on the latest findings and how to complete the forms. Naz, do you have a question?
If we do the screening, do we estimate to give the paperwork?
So when you do, that's a great question. What happened when you fill it out on FinTracker? How does it get in front of our admin team? So basically, as soon as you submit it, so you fill it out, and with a buyer, wait till they've bought before you submit it. But as soon as you submit it to our front desk, they will upload it into Command for you. You can upload it yourself if you want, but our admin team will upload it for you right into Command. And as soon as it's in our system, I can tell you that Steph and her team and Darren and I are looking at it from a brokerage level for any flags, warnings, and they do come up. And maybe I'll speak real quick to that. If your client gets a flag or some kind of warning, I just want to repeat, this is not going to jeopardize your transaction. Most of these flags and warnings, first of all, are not actually the same as the same person who's doing the transactions. It's usually someone else. But even if it is the same person, and we have identified some that are the same person, it doesn't mean there's a report going into FinTrack. It means we, as a brokerage, are doing a deeper analysis just to determine if there is a risk or suspicion of money laundering or anything like that. So don't worry if you see a warning or a flag. I wouldn't say it's 10%, but we are seeing some every week. We're getting some warnings, and it's okay. Don't worry, we got you. Okay?
I don't know how some agents who have done paperwork in FinTracker, they must put our email in admin, and if I get it emailed to me, and then I put it into Command for you. So I don't know how the FinTracker works for agents, because I see it differently. So there must be a way, because I get it sent to my email, like AJ's done it, and then I just upload it to Command for him. He doesn't have to worry about it. I do it for him.
So the comment is when we're finished completing the document in FinTrack, in the Fintracker app, there's a way to put in an email address. For mine, it's automatically always gone to admin. I've never had to set that up, but for some people, I think you may have to put in the admin email address.
I think for both. Wanted to send it to different places, maybe admin or.
Yeah, command admin or to our deal admin.
Get sent to me.
Yeah. And also, don't worry, if we don't get it, we'll be asking you for it.
The app. But now we are going to. So is it set up so that they know I'm an agent here?
Yeah.
We're agents here, and it just maybe that's how it automatically sets.
Also, if you have to make sure it's up to date. If you don't have the latest version, it won't work for you. So if you're having an issue, make sure you've got the latest version.
Install it, reinstall it, so the 895-972, that will make sure it's and then put it on automatic updates, so that way.
So automatic updates, and set up your FinTracker app with our office phone number, 905-895-5972. That's how it knows you're connected with our office. And of course, if you have issues, reach out to me or Darren or Steph or any of our admin team. Every one of us is well versed on this. We deal with it every day, and we're working really, really hard to keep up to date. It's not easy. Okay? Yep.
May I know at which stage on buyer and seller we need to start the
when to do it.
Document on the food.
So the recommendation from FinTrack is we do it as soon as it seems feasible that these are our clients. So if you're writing up a listing, do it at the same time you're doing up your listing. With a buyer, if you're sitting and doing a buyer rep, do it at that time. If it's not feasible for whatever reason, it must be done prior to an offer being signed. Absolutely. If they check that an offer was submitted and the FinTrack wasn't, if those dates don't line up, that's going to be a problem. But they suggest as early as possible. But to be practical as well, and this is why we're suggesting, especially with buyers, fill it out, but keep it on your phone pending. Don't submit it, because if they end up not transacting, it's less work for you later on to have to reconcile these accounts if there's anything that need to be checked. Okay. But I mean, if you're sitting down to do a listing or the BRA, that's a great time to capture that information. Okay. And that's also a good time to start knowing your client and asking these questions. You think about when you go to a bank, they run FinTrack on us every time, and most of us don't even know it. Someone pointed this out to me a year ago. They asked casually, "Oh, they're typing in your stuff. They're asking, oh, so what are you doing? What do you do for a living? Or, oh, you're buying a car. You're going to go anywhere?" They're asking you questions. They're FinTracking you. That is exactly what they're doing. You just don't know it, right? So
it's say, why are you asking me? I'd be like, this is weird.
Well, but they do. They're
They
very
do.
skilled at it. But that's what we have to do as realtors is there's the forms, but it's also the dialogue that we have on the side that actually fills in a lot of these blanks. And if anything is ever suspicious, you have to let us know. Okay? All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, great. I'm not, so question two, so that was a big, I have it already, but I don't need this from here, but this whole, being
Well, it's